Okay, we got another medical topic today. It was kind of a slow week for
weird things like conspiracy theories.
Yeah, it was. That was fun. We're going to do that one again. Okay, so I'm going to do a segment on the risks of colon cancer in young people, and this does actually come from a new study that's out, and I'm going to recap that study at the end. Did you guys know that colon cancer is increasing in young people? Have you guys heard this?
No, but I can like see why does it have to do with like energy drinks and things and like the stuff we eat.
We're not sure. Trey, have you heard this one? Is this?
No, I have not.
Okay, all right, well, good. Well, every once in a while I pull one out that you guys hadn't heard about. So, just like a recap of colon cancer, I mean, it is one of the most common cancers in the United States. It's definitely a cancer of more modern industrialized countries. You don't see it as much in more third world countries. In the United States, it's the 4th most common cancer and the 2nd most common cause of cancer death. So every year there's like 1.1 million new colon cancer cases diagnosed, which that's pretty high.
Yeah, and at what age do you have to like do that?
I'm gonna tell you, I've already had mine done.
Gross.
I know, it's horrid. 1.1 million new cases every year and 550,000 deaths in the United States. So risk factors, older age, this has always historically been a cancer of old people, right?
Yep.
And we're going to talk about how that demographic's changing. Males are more likely to have colon cancer, high intake of fat, sugars, alcohol, red or processed meat, smoking and obesity, and lack of exercise are risk factors. And so, just to give the full information on it, signs and symptoms, this is kind of scary. 50% of colon cancer cases are asymptomatic, meaning like you're just walking around living your normal life and you could have colon cancer. That's half the cases. But in the other half of the cases, people have things like constipation. Blood in the stool is the big one for me back when I was in my general surgery days. If you have blood in your stool, you need to like get checked out. Now there's definitely non-cancer reasons that can happen, but it absolutely could be cancer. So blood in the stool, that's a big one. Smaller caliber poops, that's one. Nausea, vomiting, weight loss. So you were asking about how to detect this. So screening colonoscopies used to be starting at 50. That was recently lowered to 45.
Ooh.
Yep. And you're supposed to get
9
one.
9 years for me.
You got some time? Yeah. You're supposed to get it every 5 to 10 years, depending on risk factors.
Okay.
I would probably do mine. I'm probably going to do 5 for mine, even if I don't have the risk factors, because this is a very curable cancer.
Yeah.
If you catch it.
Yeah.
And it's one of the ones that's it's not super obvious. So and if you catch it late, it's problematic. I mean, it can absolutely.
What about with people like IBS?
That is a risk factor for sure. Yeah. Sorry, I should have mentioned that one.
A lot of people have IBS.
Yeah. IBS, Crohn's.
Yeah.
Crohn's and inflammatory bowel disease, IBD. Wait, is it irritable bowel syndrome? No. Oh wait, irritable bowel syndrome. I don't know. When you said that, I was thinking more the Crohn's and the inflammatory ones. I know
a lot of people that have IBS.
I don't think irritable bowel syndrome is a risk factor for colon cancer. I will look that up, Sarah. I'll get it back to you. But I was thinking like you know Crohn's, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's inflammatory bowel disease. That one for sure. These commonly arise from polyps. They don't just pop up as a cancer cell on your colon. They usually develop in polyps, and so that's why colonoscopies are so important. Yeah, and I actually had one polyp when I got mine done.
That's a normal occurring growth in your intestine.
Well, it shouldn't be there, but they're very common.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like if you get a mole, right? Like you shouldn't have a mole, but people have moles.
Right.
I mean, it's different than that, but what I'm saying is like they pop up as you age.
Okay.
It's not like it's been there forever.
Right.
Yeah, it pops up. All right, so it is notable that the colon cancer in so we're calling young people less than 50.
Okay.
Okay, 50 or less. I had to throw that in there. 50 or less. Young people, that's young, is rising. I actually have a graph here. Throw that up. And so when you look at this chart, it's basically saying how many cases per 100,000 people. And if you look at 20 years ago, around 2005, it was around 4 cases of colon cancer per 100,000 people. And it's not listed up there, but this is less than 50 years old, okay? 50 or less. And then you watch that chart, it's gradually going up. Now, it's not like suddenly 100 out of 100,000 people. It went from 4 20 years ago to like 6.2. But that's a 50% increase in the rate of colon cancer.
What date did they make it to where it dropped to 45? What year?
Oh, that was recently.
Okay.
Because my wife was griefing me because that happened like in between, I was in between 45 and 50 and it happened. And my wife said, you need to get your colonoscopy. I'm like, wait, what? But and they lowered it because the rate's going up. I mean, you can see the graph; it's going upwards. And there's a lot of theories about why that's happening. No one really knows for sure. It's because it's kind of gradual. And in reality, you're talking instead of 4 people out of 100,000, 6 people out of 100,000. I mean, yes, it's gone up, but it's not skyrocketing. It's just going up. But one of the things that's happening now is people are trying to figure this out. And so there's a lot of studies coming out. So there was actually a study from the Journal of Clinical Colorectal Cancer. I got a pic of it, Trey, throw that up there in case anybody wants to go look at this. And I'm going to summarize it for you. So this looked at 25 different studies. It's a meta-analysis review. They're basically looking at other studies to get a consensus. And they were looking at studies that had smoking and alcohol use. Now, we already know that smoking and alcohol is a risk factor for colon cancer. But why this study is different is they were looking at very, very small usages.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't happen anymore, but I mean, when I was young, a lot of people smoked when they went out to the bars, like that weren't really smokers, like call them casual smokers or like a smoke and a drink kind of thing. That was like super common.
Yeah.
So they're looking at like people like that like they don't go buy like a pack of cigarettes, smoking. I mean, they may smoke like a few cigarettes every 2 weeks. And the rate actually was quite a bit higher in that group, meaning even very low amounts of nicotine use, well, specifically smoking, because it didn't look at like vape or like smokeless tobacco or anything like that. But very small amounts of smoking actually does dramatically increase the risk of colon cancer. And they found the same thing with alcohol. Because historically they would look at people that would drink, 10 beers a day or whatever.
Yeah.
But they started looking at people that drink like a drink a day. Like you go home, you have a glass of wine with dinner, kind of drinking. And if it was like pretty regular, like their rate went way up. And so that's kind of like notable because, historically when I think of people, okay, who's at high risk for colon cancer? Well, the people that drink literally all the time, but that's not true. It's actually people who drink pretty much at all. And the same thing goes with smoking.
That's scary.
Yeah, because there are the pure among us who've never drinking or smoked a cigarette or cigar, but there's a lot of Americans that, maybe every once in a while they do something and now they just kind of have to be aware, especially if they're young people, because this was looking at young people, that increases your risk.
Yeah.
So, it's something I think that is okay. So I guess the question is, what do you do with this information? Well, I just think that you need to be on top of getting your studies done.
Well, I think it's important to realize all of those risk factors and taking into account, like, is alcohol more important to you than exercise?
Right.
Or like, would you rather stop drinking than exercise? One of them needs to happen.
Tough call. Let's see what we're going to do here.
One of those needs to happen.
Right. Yeah.
Something.
Totally. Yeah.
It's like balance.
And it can be overwhelming because there's so many cancers out there, and like every one of them's got a laundry list of risk factors, and there's a lot of overlap because a lot of those things that are risk factors for colon cancer are risk factors for breast cancer or stomach cancer.
Like alcohol and smoking are just like
they're just bad for you.
They're like everything. They cause everything.
Yeah, they're pretty bad for you. Yeah, pretty bad. So.
But they're fun, I guess.
I guess people.
There's a time and place for it, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. But I think if you're just aware, right?
Yeah.
Because if you're going to the doctor regularly, like you're getting your screenings, at least you're being proactive. And if something pops up, you're going to find it. It's like when I went and did my colonoscopy, I had a polyp, and it was benign. But if you let that sit there for 15 years, it could become a cancer.
Yeah.
So why would I do it? I went and got my thing, and they pulled that thing out like it owed them money, and now it's gone. And you can get another one, but the one that you did have that was already there is gone, right? So I think if you're, out there, I mean, obviously I'm going to tell people never do anything, no vices, right? Like I'm going to tell people, no, don't drink. I mean, no one would listen to you if you ran around and said, no.
Didn't we try to do that one time?
Did I?
No.
The United States. Right, prohibition. Yeah. So I mean, I'm never going to go out and say that to people, but I just think you need to be aware of the risk.
Yeah.
Like you got to know, like, okay, if I'm doing this, like, what are the potential outcomes, and how can I mitigate that risk? For example, by going to the doctor and getting all my studies.
Yeah.
So. But that's an interesting one. I don't know. I don't make a whole lot. I kept hearing that colon cancer was going up in young people, and then when I looked at the data, I'm like, well, it went from like 4.2 to 6.2 out of 100,000. It's not a huge rise. It is going up. I think it's probably dietary related. I mean, there's a lot of data that shows like certain types of foods increase that, and especially in the United States, we eat like crab.
For sure.
We eat a lot of processed food and things that are going to put you a little bit more risk. So I don't know. I'm not sounding the alarms on that one. But again, colon cancer, like breast cancer, is one of those things. If you get your screenings, you're probably going to be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you may pop up with it. You might be that one that gets it. But at least if you're getting screened, I mean, you can cure these things.
Yeah.
If they're early.
And it's crazy because gut health has become such a big trendy topic, and learning what your body needs to be happy,
right?
Because apparently your gut just controls so much of your hormones as well in your body.
I don't know a whole lot about that. I have to look it up.
Apparently.
All right, I'm going to do a quick recap on this one, Trey. So today we were talking about a new study that came out looking specifically at risk factors for colon cancer in young people. And the take home is that if you're even a casual smoker, if you're even a casual drinker, those two things actually dramatically increase your risk of colon cancer, and even getting it at a young age would be considered 50 or less. So I just think people need to be aware of that. Historically, they've looked at heavy users, like people smoking a pack a day or people drinking 10 beers a day. But the new literature is showing, the new research is showing that even small amounts of usage of smoking and alcohol does increase your risk of colon cancer. So obviously, abstaining is always good if you can do it, but I think being aware of that and just going to the doctor, getting your colonoscopy screenings. Now it is 45 years old when you start getting your colonoscopy screenings, because these cancers can be cured, but you got to catch them. And so just be aware what the risk factors are, get your screenings, and you'll be all right. So, all right, good episode.
Yeah, get your butt checked.
Get your butt checked. Thank you, Sarah, for that.
Bye.
We'll see you next week. I'm just ending on that one. Get your butt checked. Bye.